Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of the Radium Girls. Today's episode, we'll be talking about one woman in history who did not get the recognition that she deserved. This was a listener's submission, so thank you for submitting this topic and story. I didn't hear about this story before researching, so it was definitely eye-opening and one that I think more people should know about because it's not just her story. Like, this has happened, especially back in this time.
Yeah.
And people like her, which is very unfortunate. So we're here to tell you her story, to be a voice for her and her family. However small we are, it's still a voice. So, let's get into it.
All right. Henrietta Lacks was born on August 1st, 1920, to Eliza Pleasant and John Randall Pleasant in Roanoke, Virginia. Henrietta's mother died giving birth to her 10th child when Henrietta was just 4 years old. After her mom's passing in 1924, her father and his 10 children moved to Clover, Virginia to be closer to relatives. Once settled, her father would divide his children to be raised by different relatives. Oh my God. Henrietta was raised by her grandfather, Tommy Lacks, who was also raising his other grandchild, David Lacks, or Day, Henrietta's first cousin. So they just spread children everywhere back then. Neither one of the children would complete school. Day would stop attending in the 4th grade and Henrietta in the 6th.
So the two cousins would actually end up together and have their first child, Lawrence, when Henrietta was only 14 years old in 1935. Their second child, Lucille Elsie, and also their marriage would come in 1941. After Elsie was born, the pair would move to Turner Station in Maryland so Day could work for Bethlehem Steel at Sparrows Point. This was not the only reason for the move. They were urged by another cousin to move closer to family due to the fact that Elsie had developmental disabilities. Henrietta and Day would go on to have 3 more children, David Jr., Deborah, and Joseph. Around 1950, Henrietta told one of her female cousins that she felt there was a knot inside of her, however, she did not seek medical attention. A week after telling her cousins about feeling this, she became pregnant with Joseph, who was their 5th child. Elsie would become too big for Henrietta to handle alone while pregnant, so the doctors recommended sending her away to the Hospital for the Negro Insane, which was later renamed the Crownsville State Hospital in Crownsville, Maryland.
Henrietta continued to feel this knot inside her, which was eventually accompanied by vaginal bleeding and a lump on her cervix that was there 3 months after giving birth. It was then that she finally decided to seek medical attention. She decided to go to the Johns Hopkins Hospital only when she thought there were no other options for her. Johns Hopkins was the only hospital in her area that would treat her, although she received her care in what's referred to in the 50s as the colored ward of the hospital. Doctors here would diagnose Henrietta with cervical cancer. Henrietta kept her diagnosis private, only telling her husband that she needed to go to the doctor for medicine. Why would you keep that private?
I don't blame her.
Really, from her husband?
Mm-hmm. I don't blame her. I probably wouldn't keep something like that private, but I would probably keep, I don't know. I think it's just because of where it's at and the time.
Yeah, that's true.
The age of...
Oh, yeah, she's young.
Well, not necessarily that age. I would just mean the era.
Yeah,
the decade. There we go.
Yeah.
That time that they're in is very modest.
Yeah.
And
both of those parts.
So, yeah, I think that's probably... I can't speak for her, obviously, but if I were to keep it quiet in that time, probably why.
Yeah, that's true.
Henrietta received numerous tests at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in preparation for her first cancer treatment. Following the standard for the day, her first treatment involved Lawrence Wharton Jr., the surgeon on duty, taking tubes of radium, putting those tubes in little pouches, sometimes called Brack plaques, and then sewing those pouches to the inside of her cervix. I can't imagine. Oh my God, I cannot imagine.
That is crazy. Sewing them.
Like,
how?
Tubes of radium I'm not laughing. I just can't imagine. Oh, no.
Man.
So, radium, our friend radium. Hello, we're radium girls. This is a radioactive metal that is lethal to cells, but can cause mutations that ultimately lead to cancer, but can also be utilized to kill cancer cells.
It's weird.
So, yeah, super weird. So, yeah, she had this sewed inside of her cervix.
That's so nothing to me.
I don't know. Yeah.
Goodness.
So while Henrietta was sedated on the operating table for her first procedure, her surgeon took 2 tissue samples from her, one taken from her tumor and the other from her normal cervical tissue. Then he placed her tissue samples in a glass dish and had a resident transfer the samples to the Johns Hopkins Hospital researcher and head of tissue culture research, George Otto Gay.
At that time, patients at the Johns Hopkins Hospital, like Henrietta, routinely had their cells collected to aid in research endeavors at the hospital without their knowledge.
Without their knowledge.
I'd be pissed. During that time in history, it was common for physicians to use patient samples from public wards without their knowledge or consent. Yeah, that would not go down today. The only form of consent that the Johns Hopkins Hospital had Lack sign was titled Operation Permit, which stated that she consented to the hospital performing any operative procedures and anesthetic deemed necessary for proper surgical care.
So the surgery and to put her under.
Yeah.
She didn't sign a waiver for you to take part of her body
Yeah.
for research. Like, I don't know.
You can at least ask.
Yeah, like, hey, do you want us to take some cells so we can, I mean, I think they do that now, like biopsies, take biopsies to research. And,
But I mean, at least you know.
Yeah, and for you. Not,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
that
for
true.
To research for your body to see if you have it maybe anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's going to spread, like, to see what kind and all that stuff.
Not just for you to have fun with. Gay aimed to develop what was called an immortal human cell line, or cells that would continuously replenish themselves in the laboratory. Gay provided Lack's tissue samples to his research assistant, Mary Kubasek, and tasked her with culturing Henrietta's tumor cells and healthy cervical cells.
Mary was skeptical that Henrietta's cells would continuously multiply, as none of the cell samples she had cultured previously had successfully done so. Mary picked up Henrietta's tumor sample, covered it in a culture medium, and labeled the sample HELA, or HeLa. We're going to say HeLa, or HE for the first 2 letters of Henrietta, and LA for the first 2 letters of Lax. Actually, I'll probably end up saying Hella. But it's one of the 2, so just FYI, it's H-E, capital H-E, capital L-A. Mary did not expect Henrietta's cells to hold any more success than the other patient's cells she had attempted to culture, but the HeLa cell line did succeed, and Henrietta's cervical tumor cells continued to grow continuously. Weeks after Henrietta left the hospital after her initial radium treatment, her tumor cells continued to grow in a culture at Gay's lab, multiplying 20 times faster than her normal cells. All the while, Henrietta is back at work at the tobacco fields. So her cells are in a lab somewhere just multiplying, and she's working with radium. It's not funny, but radium's sewed inside of her.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Unless they took the radium out after the treatment. I didn't.
They sewed it in her though.
Yeah, but
you ain't about to sew it up and then unsew it.
True. Well, I'll make sure it stays in place during the treatment.
Well, better just find a different way.
Either way, she's working with cancer.
Yeah.
When the HeLa cell line successfully multiplied in 1951, Gay informed his colleagues that his lab may have grown the first immortal human cell line, offering them vials of Henrietta's cells. This woman's cells are immortal. She has no idea at this point that they even took her cells and tried to regenerate to get them to multiply. She's just working on a tobacco farm, trying to cure her cancer, basically.
Yeah.
And take care of her kids. And here you are, you've got her cells, and you're about to just give them to your colleagues? Still, she has no idea that you successfully did this for her?
He's really over here trying to find immortal stuff.
Yeah, he's trying to find the fountain of youth.
Man.
Well, he did. It's her cells. Maybe not the entire fountain of youth, but, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing for her cells. Like, what was it about her DNA?
Yeah.
If they've never been able to do this again.
Yeah, for real. For a little over a month after her diagnosis in 1951, Henrietta's family did not know about her cancer. She didn't tell nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Although radium treatments had known side effects, such as nausea and vomiting. There is currently no record of Henrietta experiencing those effects. Wow, so she didn't have any of the side effects.
Mm-mm. From radium being sold inside of her.
Wow. She is immortal.
She's gotta be.
Crazy. As her treatments progressed and her tumor began to shrink, the next course of action in her treatment was X-ray therapy. Because her husband worked nights and could not pick her up from treatment, she needed to tell 2 of her cousins about her cancer so she could wait with them until her husband could pick her up. Henrietta's cancer at that time had quickly spread throughout her body, and by September of 1951, her internal organs were almost entirely covered in cancerous tumors.
Dang. So her initial tumor shrunk.
That's great. I wonder if the radium they put inside her had something to do with that spreading or something. I thought she was immortal. What happened?
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to just put radium inside of you.
No.
We learned that in our first episode with the Radium Girls.
Yeah, you're not supposed to touch it like that. Yeah, definitely, because I feel like that probably did have.
Yeah. It may have helped that tumor, but...
Yeah, but then it brought more.
Yeah.
Spread more or something.
That's so sad.
Wow, that's crazy. Almost all her internal organs.
Mm-hmm. Henrietta sadly passed away on October 4th, 1951. The official cause of her death was terminal uremia. Did I say that right?
I don't know. What is that?
Well, I'm about to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Terminal uremia is when the kidneys are unable to filter blood the way that they should, and consequently, high levels of toxins build up in the blood.
Radium?
Mm-hmm. Normal functioning kidneys work with the liver to remove and filter out toxins and other byproducts that the body produces. Though there was no obituary for Henrietta, Gay's lab heard of her death, and Gay requested an autopsy to validate the potential for further samples from Henrietta's various organs.
They didn't even, try to help her. They just took her samples and ran with them.
Oh, she died? Oh, we got more access to her body, to her samples. Let's get it. We gotta jump on it.
Yeah. That's
so wrong. I don't know. If I was her family or, her husband, I wouldn't allow them to just... No! Mm-hmm. Unless,
you just let her die. You didn't even tell her about immortal cells.
Yeah, she still had no idea that her cells were making history.
Yeah.
This was history, a huge moment in history. And she had no idea that she was...
That's crazy.
Making this huge impact.
Yeah.
Or at the start of it. This is the moment it all started was because of her. She had no idea. Yeah. It's so sad. Her family had no idea.
It's crazy.
Yeah. However, to obey the law, which held that an autopsy could not be completed without permission from Henrietta's family, physicians only convinced Day, Henrietta's husband, to authorize the autopsy after claiming they would run medical tests on Henrietta that could produce beneficial health information for his children. So...
They lying. They using...
Because, did they get information for his kids out of that?
Probably not.
Probably not. Or they probably told him, no, we didn't, sorry. We just...
Yeah, we didn't have no information to give you.
We can't tell if it's genetic or not. You can't tell if your kids are at risk or not. I'm sorry. It was inconclusive.
Mm-hmm.
This is so wrong. I'm sure in their mind, they're not lying to the family saying that, it could produce beneficial health information for his children because what these cells ended up doing
Did
for
they get
science
any information?
could have helped their kids.
Potentially, if they would have gave him information, which they probably didn't.
Yeah, like down the line. I don't know. It's this rubs me so wrong.
Yeah. As of 2020, the cells Gay collected from Henrietta are some of the most commonly used cells in the biomedical research. That is so crazy. 2020.
How many years later is that?
That's so crazy how it's possible.
No. 60? 60 years later?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Scientists have used her cells through the HeLa cell line to test the effects of zero gravity on human cells in space, to study the human genome, and across a wide array of disease and vaccine research. Despite the widespread use of her cells in research, Henrietta's identity as the donor of the HeLa cell line was known only to the scientific community in 1970, before her own family became aware 5 years later.
That's so crazy. It's 1951. She passes away. She still had no idea that her cells were taken from her. Here we are. It's 1975 because her family became aware 5 years after that. So 1975. That's 25 years. 25 years after she passes away, before her family even knew that her cells were making history. That's just so wrong.
That's just mind-blowing. Though Gay claimed that his initial intent was to keep her name private, maintaining the secrecy of the HeLa cell donor allowed for research institutions and companies to profit from Henrietta cells.
That's just...
Ain't that something?
That's crazy. So, he intended on keeping it private so they can make money. I just can't.
It's always about money.
Oh, yeah.
That also meant that her family gave no consent and received no compensation for her unwitting donation. Many researchers attribute the contemporary requirement for documented patient consent for research samples to Henrietta's story.
Now, there's a contemporary requirement that patients have to consent for the research samples because of Henrietta, her story. Only because they found out, because they got caught. Only because you got outed. Bullshit.
It really is.
On March 25th, 1976, however many years before Valerie's born to the day.
We need to start taking a shot.
I know,
March stuff.
Yes, every single time that it's one of our birthdays, we'll take a shot.
If it's the month, we'll take one shot. If it's the day, take 2 shots.
Take 2 shots. That's a good idea. Y'all play along with us. Play a drinking game. Every time we talk about March, 1 shot. The 25th of March specific, too.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll get to stories with my birthday.
Hopefully, dang.
I know. It's like nothing happens in June. It's crazy. So, on March 25th, 1976, reporter Michael Rogers first brought the HeLa cell line's connection with Henrietta to public attention. Rogers had learned about the HeLa cell line after seeing "Helen Lane Lives" written over a urinal in a medical school bathroom.
What the heck?
Oh, no. Rogers initially set out to find the elusive Helen Lane, but upon meeting scientist Walter Nelson Reese, Rogers identified Lax as the true donor of the HeLa cell line. Before Rogers revealed her identity to the public, only rumors of the identity of the woman whose cells produced the HeLa cell line circulated among the public, Helen Lane being one of the rumored names of the donor. Rogers' Rolling Stone article established Henrietta as the actual woman whose cells were used to make the HeLa cell line. Thank you, Michael Rogers, for bringing her name to the public.
Yeah.
And calling these motherfuckers out.
How do they know about this line? Like, was it popular or something? Like,
the what?
Were they like, we got a new
the cell
Immortal cell line?
Well, no, this was, so he saw it because he was in a medical school. So I'm sure that was part of, like, they introduced it as part of the curriculum, just this HeLa cell. And that's probably, him, like, let me find out who Helen Lane is. He was probably curious what makes her so special to see why these cells are so immortal and maybe talk to her about it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it was whoever Helen Lane is, she wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Done the same thing, that her cells are floating out there.
Yeah.
So, neither Henrietta nor her family gave her physicians permission to harvest her cells. In the 1980s, family medical records were published without family consent. That's wrong.
Wow.
I can't. Oh. A similar issue was brought up in the Supreme Court of California, case of Moore versus Regents of the University of California in 1990. The court ruled that a person's discarded tissue and cells are not their property and can be commercialized. You die, your body's not yours anymore, or your family's.
Wow. Discarded tissue.
But so you're like automatically an organ donor. Your discarded tissues are not yours anymore. So, this person passed away. They don't need their liver, so we're going to donate it over here to either science or this other human being that needs it.
So is that, maybe that's why the whole, do you want to be an organ donor thing came to be? You think?
I don't know if this is why, because it's like, they're saying discarded tissue, so I don't know if it's like, they're referring to specifically when someone, I don't think they're referring to specifically when someone passes, so that might not be the same connection, but it could be something similar, maybe.
Yeah. Because they probably used to do anything with the bodies if they wanted to.
Yeah. So discarded tissue could be, sorry, your foot got amputated. We're going to take it over here for science.
Or like your blood or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your biopsy.
Yeah, exactly that. That's so crazy.
Taking my cells. I am an organ donor, though.
I mean, I would. Are you? I don't know. I was always scared to be.
I mean, I don't know if I want to be, but I still checked it.
I mean, it's a good thing. I think more people need to be organ donators.
Is it not? What
did I say that right? Organ donators. Okay.
Are you not checked?
I have no idea. I cannot remember. Oh. To be honest, I cannot remember. I don't remember when the last time I renewed my license. If I did that or not. It's coming due this year though, so I'll see. I have to renew it this year. But I can tell you, I was always terrified for some reason, and then but yeah, we need more people on this earth that
I'm still kind of scared. I'm like, I don't want to think about it. Just let me die.
Just let me die.
Let me die.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if my body could help science or help another life, then probably yeah. I'm gonna change. Make sure that I'm an organ donor this year.
It's still scary.
Yeah. I don't know. And then I had, my lung. What happened with me and my lungs?
They're gonna take your lungs.
Well, they can't donate them to another human.
They're gonna do some research.
But yeah, I'm like, that would be a cool science. You can like the effect of, or how one person lived from surviving a massive pulmonary embolism and then the damage that it caused and them surviving so far almost 12 years. Cheers. 11 solid years. So, that, I don't know. Everybody go sign up to be an organ donor. You can do it when you renew. Yeah. Can't you do it? You do it when you renew your license. You can do it anytime, can't you?
Probably.
Yeah. Go donate your organs. Not while you're alive.
Have you heard of that? What is it? Like those places where they put the donated bodies like just outside for them to decompose.
Yes, for like
science research.
For science purposes, like they train cadaver dogs like that. Medical examiners, the people yes, and I want to go.
I was like, do you want to be one?
Yes.
No.
Well, I want to be an ME, a medical examiner.
I'm talking about when you die.
Oh,
would you be okay? Like
no,
but when you then gave your body up.
No, I think for me, what I would rather be is one of, like, either just take everything and donate it to somebody that needs it, like, if they can use it for that, and if they can't use it for that for whatever reason, I'd rather be one of those, I wish I could remember what it's called, but they have shows.
They're gonna put you in a museum.
Yeah, it's like a traveling museum for that.
Oh, the bodies or whatever?
Yeah. They have a bunch of cadavers, and like usually there's no skin or whatever, but they have different layers where you see like the muscular makeup of a human's body and
I remember those videos.
The organs and stuff. Oh my gosh, I want to go there so bad. And the nerves and the blood, like they pull the nerve, the whole intact nervous system and the blood vessels and the veins, the arteries and the veins. I think I would want to do that over the decomposing piece.
Yeah. I guess.
I don't know. I just Just the thought of rotting somewhere kind of just makes me sad.
Mm-hmm. And like birds eating at you or something. Oh.
Yeah.
Nasties.
But I want to go there and see what it's like.
No. For science. What kind of science you doing?
To see what happens to a body after it's been sitting there for 2 weeks. Just in case I might have to go on a search party to help find somebody. I need to know what I'm looking for. How far decomposed am I looking for?
Ma'am, they ain't gonna ask you.
But if they're like, this kid's been missing, or let's not say a kid, but if they're like, this man's been missing for 3 weeks. Oh, his body's gonna look like this. This is what you need to look for. I want to be that person.
Okay.
Stay weird.
And
curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious, okay?
So in March, take a shot.
Take a shot.
2013. So it's a different March.
Different March.
It's a different March.
Same March, different year.
Yeah. Researchers published the DNA sequence of the genome of a strain of HeLa cells. The Lax family discovered this when author Rebecca Skloot informed them. There were objections from the Lax family about the genetic information that was available for public access. Jerry Lax Wyatt, a grandchild of Henrietta Lax, said to the New York Times the biggest concern was privacy, what information was actually going to be out there about our grandmother and what information they can obtain from her sequencing that will tell them about her kids and grandkids and going down the line. That same year, another group working on a different HeLa cell line's genome under the NIH funding National Institute of Health submitted it for publication. In August 2013, an agreement was announced between the family and the NIH that gave the family some control over access to the cell's DNA sequence found in the 2 studies, along with a promise of acknowledgement in scientific papers.
So, I mean, that's something. It took them...
Yeah.
Let me math.
I need some back pay.
For real. We need some...
I'll be suing them.
What's it called? Some...
Back pay?
Is it just back pay?
I don't know. Is there another word for it?
I don't know. So it took them 62 years from the time that they discovered her cell to 62 years later to at least give her family a piece.
Yeah.
A piece of this. But it's just access and some control. Oh, wait, excuse me. Just control over access to the sequence, to their sequence, their strain of it. Not even the original. Like, this is a genome of it. And a promise to be acknowledged in, her name. This is hers.
That's so wild.
It's just not like, it's not even a breadcrumb, just like a tiny, it's not, one step at a time. Right? 62 years later?
Yeah, 62 years later. Shoot. Everybody's old. In addition, 2 family members will join the 6-member committee, which will regulate access to the sequence data.
Okay, well, there's that too.
So 2 family members will join the 6-member committee. Who else is on this committee?
I don't know, but not 4 other family members. Not 4 more people that deserve to be.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy.
In October 2021, Lax Estate filed a lawsuit against Thermo Fisher Scientific for profiting from the HeLa cell line without Lax consent, asking for the full amount of Thermo Fisher's net profits.
So it took them... How long did we say?
This is 2021.
Yeah, this is just passed. We're recording at the time that you see our video. It took them 8 years from the initial agreement till then to actually file the suit. Oh, man. To quote the complaint filed in Baltimore federal court, Black people have the right to control their bodies, and yet Thermo Fisher Scientific treats Henrietta Lack's living cells as chattel to be bought and sold. Thermo Fisher Scientific business is to commercialize Henrietta Lack's cells, her living bodily tissue, without the consent of or providing compensation to Miss Lack's estate, the lawsuit states. All the while, Thermo Fisher Scientific understands, indeed acknowledges on its own website, that this genetic material was stolen from Miss Lack's. Thermo Fisher Scientific business is nothing more than a perpetuation of this theft.
The lawsuit was brought by Ron L. Lax, the estate's executor and grandson of Henrietta Lax. For years, he has been inspired by his mother's resilience to keep Henrietta's name alive, and he is using this inspiration to fight for his family's ownership of his grandmother's legacy. I walk into my mother's room. She gives me strength because I know I'm doing it for her. She started this in 1973. She started this so when I walk into her room and feed her, change her, I know I'm doing this for her. Ron Lack told ABC News, "When you fight for your family, you come off with all guns blazing. You don't stop until you succeed, or they knock me down," he added.
You go, Ron. It seems that my family has been shut out of everything profit-bearing of my grandmother and our family history, he told the Dundalk Eagle last year in a story promoting his book, Henrietta Lack's The Untold Story, which he says aims to correct the misimpressions left by Rebecca Skloot's book. The complaint mentions the Tuskegee experiments in which Black men were secretly denied treatment for syphilis, along with World War II mustard gas experiments on Black soldiers and hysterectomies that were performed on Black women in Mississippi under the guise of appendectomies, which those are definitely stories we'll have to look into.
Yeah.
All kinds of we like our medical stories where it's, stuff goes on that you have one thing that is planned, but that's not what happened. Kind of like the, kind of like Dr. Death, how, you're coming in here for your spine up here, yet we're working down here. Definitely would like to cover these stories.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Too often, the history of medical experimentation in the United States has been the history of medical racism, the lawsuit states. In 2013, the National Institutes of Health announced a new ethical guideline concerning HeLa cells restricting access to the complete DNA sequence to scientific researchers funded by the U.S. government grant. The medical company being sued by the family of Henrietta Lacks has filed a motion calling for the dismissal of the suit, claiming it's decades too stale to proceed. I think not.
Decades too stale to proceed. So the family doesn't find out until 5 years later. We're in the 70s. You know what kind of time period this is for Black Americans, for Black people in general. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
They wouldn't have been able to get where they could have gotten today or are trying to get today even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's just a cop-out. It's decades too stale to proceed. Sorry, we can't do this because it's been way too long. You should have come up here earlier. Okay, if they tried earlier, what would have happened?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. Nothing would have happened.
Mm-mm.
Sorry, she, whatever. I don't know. It's just... Nope.
The motion was filed on behalf of Thermo Fisher Scientific and argues even under the most generous interpretation of when plaintiff's claim may have accrued is barred by Maryland's 3-year statute of limitations.
That's just still... Oh. That part is a little touchy because I get that they have those limitations, but still, come on.
Yeah.
It's still just so wrong. You can, overlook this because of how far this has come, how far her cells have helped the scientific world.
Yeah.
Or how much they've helped them.
Yeah.
It's just, According to the motion, The Story of Lax Treatment by John Hopkins in 1951, and the widespread subsequent commercial use of the HeLa cells has been known for 50 years when Rolling Stone and Ebony magazines wrote on Lax's story in 1976. Since then, numerous articles and even a book have been written on her. However, Lax's family didn't take action until October 2021 and, as a result, is facing a decision to determine if they are time-barred. As of today, I couldn't find anything else, or we couldn't find anything else moving forward on the story. So if we do hear something else, we can update you guys. But definitely keep this story on your radar, you know, if you see something in the news about it. Compensating the Lax family for its incredible contribution to medical science and research is long overdue, and decades of wrongdoing is not justification for continuing to ignore them. Instead of fighting this family, companies like Thermo Fisher Scientific should welcome the opportunity to right this wrong and be a part of correcting the history of racial injustice in the U.S. medical system. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
That was said by Christopher Seeger, one of the attorneys representing the Lax estate in the litigation, in a statement.
So true.
That's what I was wanting to say. You go, Chris. That's what I meant. That's what I meant to say a while ago.
Johns Hopkins University states on its website that it has never sold or profited from the discovery or distribution of HeLa cells.
Liars.
Damn lie.
Liars.
And that the university does not own the rights to the HeLa cells.
Okay, so give them back.
You're right.
Give them back or give me money.
Dispose of them or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And then keep them forever in a vault. The university also claims that it has helped the Lax family broker an agreement that requires scientists to receive Henrietta Lax's genetic blueprint. Over the years, HeLa cells have enabled scientists around the world to make giant leaps in science and medicine. This list highlights 5 of these remarkable contributions. Although these are huge milestones in the scientific community, the Lax family, specifically Henrietta, should be recognized for her unintentional contribution.
Yeah, so we'll go over, like she said, the five things that her cells have done, but I just want to say that we wouldn't have had this without her. So thank you to Henrietta and her family, but specifically to Henrietta, even though she had no idea. This is incredible. Like, I'm so curious to know what it is specifically about her cells that are so immortal. And is there anybody else like her? You know, maybe somebody else in her family has this special DNA strain.
Yeah.
I don't know. She had siblings. She had 9 other siblings.
Yeah.
Very curious. I mean, you know, with their permission. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Thank you. So, the first thing is polio eradication.
Wow, that's a big one.
It's a big one. Jonas Salk had developed a polio vaccine in the early 1950s, but was struggling to find a way to test it in field trials, as traditionally used rhesus monkey cells were too expensive for such a large-scale study. In 1952, HeLa cells were to be both susceptible to, but not killed by polio, making them an ideal source of host cells. A HeLa cell culture production laboratory was set up at Tuskegee University, which at its peak was shipping in the region of 20,000 tube cultures per week.
Dang.
20,000 HeLa cell tube cultures per week.
I don't understand how cells could do that. It's so weird.
Well, they were multiplying like crazy.
I know, it's just so crazy.
Yeah. Science, baby.
Science. Okay, the second one was improved cell culture practices. During the mass production and distribution of HeLa cells for polio vaccine testing at Tuskegee University, lead researchers Brown and Henderson pioneered new cell culture protocols, such as the use of rubber-lined screw cap bottles and tubes, and strict QC measures. The temperature-sensitive nature of HeLa cells also led the researchers to use multiple incubators and introduce novel shipment solutions such as Equitherm and insulated shipping containers. After the discovery that HeLa cells could travel through the air and contaminate other cultures, vast improvements were made to cell culture practices to prevent further costly cross-contaminations. Whoa.
So the third one is chromosome counting. A lab mix-up in Texas in 1953 accidentally enabled researchers to see and count each chromosome clearly in the HeLa cells that they were working with. Following this discovery, 2 scientists developed a technique for staining and counting chromosomes, demonstrating that human somatic cells have 23 pairs of chromosomes, not the previously believed 24. This has had important implications for medical diagnostics, as deviations from 23 chromosome pairs are associated with various genetic diseases, for example, trisomy 21 and Down syndrome. So that's just crazy. Like, her cells allowed them to be able to see chromosomes clearly and see that there's 23, not 24 like they thought.
That's
and
crazy.
Then all of a sudden, here's, this helps trisomy and Down syndrome. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, what? A lab mix-up accidentally enabled them. Like, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you, what? You can clearly see the chromosomes. How?
We're not scientists, Val.
I know.
I'll never understand.
Dang. I want to know. So, the fourth one was genome mapping. Harrison Watkins created the first human-animal hybrids in 1965. Excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
By fusing HeLa cells with mouse cells. What?
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fears and uncertainties from the general public at the time, this accomplishment enabled great advances in mapping genes to specific chromosomes and in years later, the Human Genome Project.
Yeah, human-animal hybrid.
That's crazy.
If y'all want to hear that story, let us know.
I want to know, yeah.
And the last one is HPV vaccine, the human papillomavirus. So in the 1980s, Henrietta's cells were found to contain HPV-18 by Harold Zurhassen, that's German, who later went on to win a Nobel Prize for his discovery linking HPV and cervical cancer. Remember Henrietta, who started this all, had cervical cancer? Yeah. Subsequent work led to the development of HPV vaccines, which are now used in many countries to protect young girls from developing HPV infections associated with cervical cancer. Estimates suggest that HPV vaccination will help to reduce the number of deaths from cervical cancer by 70%.
That is a lot. That's good. Dang.
All because of Henrietta unknowingly donating her
so crazy
tissue, discarded tissue as they call it, to science.
Like, her cells are like everywhere. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's sad though, because it's like no recognition.
Yeah. Man, they need to do better. In addition to these 5 examples, HeLa cells have been involved in many other groundbreaking advances in science and medicine, ranging from being the first cells to be successfully cloned, to the first human cells to be sent into space. HeLa cells are still widely used in labs today, making it likely that their contributions will continue to grow.
Which means that her family needs to continue to be recognized.
For real. And compensated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If this were me and my family, like, if they actually gave me acknowledgement and compensation for all of this, then maybe I'll donate. You can take some tissues out of me and see if I'm going to help you. So long as you keep the compensation and the acknowledgement coming. Yeah. I would love to go down the history as being able to contribute to.
I know, right? She should be in history books. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, that's our story for today. Miss Henrietta Lacks. Definitely a good story. And needs to be more.
I honestly did not know about her.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't either. And yeah, when our friend told me about it, I was like, yeah. She gave me a brief synopsis of it, and it's like, yeah. Let us know if you've heard about Henrietta Lacks. I know that, her family's been in the news recently with this lawsuit and stuff, so maybe you heard about her recently, but if you heard about her before that, then let us know. And what are your thoughts? Do you think that, do you agree and think that the scientific world is wrong for just taking not only her cells, but other people's discarded tissue and keeping them for science purposes? Or should they have gotten permission? I'm sure if they would have gotten permission, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and see if,
right? Yeah.
Take him. It's crazy.
It's crazy times back then.
Yeah. You have any other thoughts on the...
No. So if you like this story, give it a like. Like our YouTube, our podcast, our Facebook page.
Yes.
And you can leave us a comment.
Right.
And if you want to suggest a story. You
need some help out? Shadow.
Can y'all see this doggy? Hi. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but there's like fireworks or gunshots going off outside.
Mm-hmm. Probably fireworks.
It's probably fireworks, but you never know. It could be both.
Yeah.
Him's scared.
He's so scared.
He's scared.
Such a little
baby.
There you go. That's a nicer word. And then this one, she just wants attention. Come here. Come here.
But y'all know the drill. Y'all know what to do.
I'm getting hugs.
Subscribe to us, okay? And maybe y'all can see more little doggies.
Yeah.
They're cute. The Radium Crew.
The Radium Crew.
We in the Radium Crew.
You gonna tell us something? Alright, so we've got a question for today. So, Val, would you rather get $10 million today or in monthly payments spread out across your lifetime? Starting today.
That one's kind of a hard one because, I want it all. I don't know. A part of me wants it all, but then, I feel like I would spend it all.
Yeah, all at one time?
Yeah.
You think you'd spend it all?
Or at least way before my lifetime is over, So maybe I'd probably do better having it in monthly payments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, if we do the math, and we say that we'll live to be around 90, because that'd be average for mine, and maybe yours too. So, we're 30. We've got 60 more years. So $10 million over 60 years is $166,000, just over $166,000 a year. Divide that by 12 months. That's $13,888. So we'll round it up to about $14,000 a month. Each month until you die. Quit!
So it's $166,000 a year, you said?
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money.
I mean, I can get down with that. That's fine with me.
So you would still do monthly payments?
It's just a hard one.
You want me to say what I would do?
Yeah, what would you do?
Okay, so at first I was thinking, I would probably do monthly payments too, because I wouldn't want to put it all. I wouldn't want to spend it all, and I'm afraid that I would. The first thing I would probably do is pay off my house, and then buy a new car, and then take care of my family, give some money to my family, make sure that everybody that I love and care about is set up.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid I would spend it all at once if I had it all, but if I had that much money at one time, I think what I would do is pay my house off, so I'm done with that, upgrade my car, and then put the rest in, I don't know anything about this stuff, so I would definitely hire some sort of person that's smart and knows about that, but some sort of bank or whatever that can accrue interest and, get more money over the years, so that way I would eventually have way more than $10 million before I die, or by the time that I'm pass away. I think I would do that. Because if I only get monthly payments of about almost $14,000 a month, well, I would save it. Yeah, I would be able to save it and probably do the same thing where I put it back. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Like, I just don't know if I'm gonna need that much money when I'm older. So I'm like, should I spend it when I'm younger? Like, what if can't you set up like funds or trusts or something like that, like for a certain age? You can get it at a certain age. So maybe you can give yourself like $1 million in your last years or something.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I think I would want it all up front for sure.
Yeah, and then like maybe separate it yourself somehow.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know until I'm put in that position. I'm actually really torn because I wouldn't mind having the monthly payment. That way, I know what I'm getting that month, and I can budget myself.
Yeah.
Rather than having it all at once, and what budget do you have to go on unless you do like what you said and you put a certain amount.
Yeah, I would definitely have to do that because I'd be.
Yeah, I would hire a financial person that I trusted. Like, you hear about all the scams and stuff like that. That's terrifying. But I would definitely have to hire somebody and not tell anybody that had as much money. I would probably live the same life that I live. Probably not the same life that I live, but I would probably like not tell anybody that I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take that back. Maybe a couple people. Yeah. Anyways, any other thoughts on that?
No, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, that's hard. So what would you do if you had $10 million? Would you rather have it today and do whatever you want with it? Or would you rather have it in monthly payments across your lifetime? Let us know on our YouTube channel in the comments down below. If you're listening on our podcast, we do have our Facebook page. You can go over there. We upload this every time that we post an episode. We upload it straight to our Facebook page, so you can comment on this episode. You can send us a Facebook message, and we'd love to hear from you. So
give us some advice.
Yeah, give us some advice. In case we win the lottery. But all right, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will see you guys next time. As always, stay curious.
Children and grilled children. Oh, fuck.
Grilled children.
Grilled children. Her children and grilled. What are you trying to say? Her children and grandchildren. Grandchildren. And grown. Why? I was just like screaming. I can't.
Would it be easier to say grandchildren and children? Or grandkids? Maybe
grandkids Holy crap.
What'd you say? Grilled children? Grilled children. Quit licking your dick.
I don't know.
Oh my god, I hope I picked that up.